Bonus mailbags. I got so many questions coming in. We're talking about CBA stuff, hometown discounts, Team USA, and a lot more right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Thanks to Blockbuster Brand, it's holiday season, drop Drew in the mix. And 3 from KP, no we not on the Knicks. Flushing competition like Al on Giannis. Juice and Big Zeus, still Bean Town's finest. Banner 18 going up in the rafters. Watch the C's game in locked on after. Karalis on the breakdown, clutch like a tip from D. White on the breakdown. John on the mic, documenting domination. Matter pen a back bay, it's all C's nation. Rain and Jace, how it started, raising banners, how we finish. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. Peace.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I got you covered every day, Monday through Friday, even on the holiday, even through Independence Day in the United States. Hope everybody celebrated hard, partied hard, and stayed safe, and came back here on July 5th, or maybe it's over the weekend, or maybe whenever it is that you're listening. I just hope that you're safe and happy and enjoyed your weekend. I'm John Karalis, by the way. I used to play a long time ago. Now I'm covering the Celtics as a beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. I also wrote this book called Built Different, a commemorative book documenting the historic run to the Celtics World Championship. Find it at all fine bookstores, especially around the New England area. TriumphBooks.com, Amazon, online booksellers, and pretty soon I'll have signed copies available through my website. So just, it's coming. If you want one, I'm also going to do book signings. So if you bought one, I will find a way to hopefully get your book signed at a signing in the New England area. All right. Today's show, by the way, is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app. Create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase of last-minute tickets to sports, other events, comedy, music, concerts, stuff like that. So check it out. Terms apply. All right, I get a ton of questions on the mailbag. So I figured this is a great day it's quiet. The Celtics have kind of handled most of their business. Not much going on, the holiday and all of that. So I opened the mailbag back up. If you are interested in sending in your own question, it's johnkaralis.com/mailbag, johnkaralis.com/mailbag. This is the only way I can keep it organized. I admit I don't have the best organizational skills. This is the way that it works for me. Very easy. If you submit it another way, I just probably won't get to it. So johnkaralis.com/mailbag. Let's jump in. Bob asks, do the two draft and stash guys have any chance of making the team this year or ever? I assume you're talking about Johan Begaron and Yamadar, and I'm going to say no. That is a hard no. They haven't heard a thing, haven't heard a whisper about them. They're not going to be part of the Summer League team. They are probably not NBA players, and I would say that's they haven't even been moved. Their draft rights haven't even been moved as part of trades that need something tangible. Like no one cares to even ask for the draft rights of these draft and stash guys. I just don't think they're ever going to make it over here, but I could be wrong. Maybe at some point down the road, there is some level of interest, but no is the answer. And also, Bob asks, could the new media deal push the second apron high enough to put the Celtics under it? I've gotten some people in the comment section, they're not 100% sure of what these aprons are. What does that mean? Quickly, there are levels. Each one of these things is a level. There's a minimum salary, the salary cap, the first apron, the second apron, the tax line. All of these things are set, and it's just depending on what your team is trying to do or where they are, the different levels mean different things. So the salary cap for this upcoming season is $140.6 million. The tax level is $170.8 million. The minimum a team has to spend is $126.5 million. So they don't have to exceed the salary cap, but every team has to spend at least $126.5 million to qualify. Those teams then get luxury tax payments. If they don't spend that by day one of the regular season, then you don't get the luxury tax payment. So that's an important thing, the minimum. So that's the lowest number, right? Then there's the cap. Then there's the tax at 170.1. And then there's the first apron, 178.1. That's $8 million above the tax. There's wiggle room between the tax and the first apron. The first apron basically is a place where teams can get hard capped for doing certain things like using their mid-level exception and so on. There's a variety of things. The second apron is 10 million more, a little bit more than 10 million more than that, 188.9 million. That is, once you cross that line, now you are extremely limited in what you can do. You can only trade and take in the exact amount of money you trade out, and not a penny more. You cannot send multiple players out in a trade, although you can take a couple of players back in a trade. So you can take back multiple players. You can't use any of your exceptions. You can only sign using a veteran minimum. And so there's a lot of limitations there. So that's what the second apron is. That's what all of these different levels are. Minimum, the cap, the tax, first apron, second apron. That's the terminology. So the second apron will rise, like everything rises with the salary cap. And so all of these numbers will go up 10% next year. So the question of, will the cap going up, the new TV money coming in, change, enough for the Celtics to get under that second apron? The answer is no, because they did a thing called cap smoothing, where everything, no matter how much money comes in, the cap can only go up by 10%. This was in response to the Kevin Durant stuff. They do not want another one of those. And so it can only go up 10%. And the Celtics next year have a lot of money that's being spent, including Jayson Tatum's first year of his new contract starts next year. So that goes up to $20 million to 50 some odd million, 54 million next year. So he and Jaylen Brown are going to be making 107 million combined. Add 32.4 for Drew, add 30.7 for Kristaps, add 28 for Derek White, and you're already up to, what's that, 100, 160, 180, 187, 200 million dollars. Okay, you get it. It doesn't matter how much that the second apron goes up there. It's only going to go up 10%. They can't get underneath that next season. So they're going to be expensive. And that brings me to Jack's question. So you've always said that the Celtics will have hard decisions to make, but how would those decisions be executed if the Celtics can only bring back almost the same amount of money in a salary in a trade? Would some of our players have to get cut to get under the cap? How will this work? So you can take back less money. You just can't take back more money. It doesn't have to be exact. When we say dollar for dollar, you have to match within a certain realm, but not more than. And you're going to start looking at Sam Hauser. Al Horford comes off the books. And maybe you bring him back at a minimum or something less, but that's how you start to dip below. You can trade somebody like, let's just say, Porzingis or Holiday into someone's cap space. The other team can take that, just like the sign and trade with Klay Thompson going to Dallas, where they had the space to absorb. I think they had an exception to absorb the salary, and they can send back just a couple of draft picks. So the Celtics could, if they needed to next season, trade Holiday, let's say, into somebody's cap space and take back picks, and that would drop them to a certain level. I don't know if they'll do that next season or if they'll wait till the year after. This is why the hard decisions come either next summer or the summer after. If the Celtics win again or get close, they might just say, look, we'll do one season under the punitive rules. And at that point, Porzingis, after the 25-26 season, he's unrestricted. They just may let him walk, right? And you're going to have to not get anything back for him. They might let Tillman walk. Al Horford may not be back anymore. So the expensive guys, and Horford is only making 9.5 this upcoming season, but the guys that make big money are potentially going to walk for nothing. And I think that's where the tough decisions are made. They probably will look at Porzingis and say, we'd love to keep you, but at 12 million or 15 million. And if Porzingis can be like, hey, thanks for the championship or 2 championships or whatever, however many championships, I'm going to move on because I could make 30 million somewhere else. And that might be what he does. So, but those are the hard decisions, and trading somebody away like that is a hard decision to make. So those are the ones that I'm talking about. We'll come back. We'll talk about DeMar DeRozan. We'll talk about hometown discounts and all of that stuff coming up in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. That's the formula for winning championships, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance: superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you're always going to find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back. Plus, with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the Jaylen Brown MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA. Locked On NBA has got you covered with all the big stories from around the league. I host on Wednesdays with Jake Madison, and go check that out on Wednesdays. But also the rest of the week with all the rotating hosts. It's always a good time. Check it out wherever you get your podcasts. Back to the mailbag. Aaron has been seeing people on Twitter talking about DeMar DeRozan taking a veteran minimum to play a year with Boston. Have you heard any of this? How would that work from a basketball perspective, so on and so forth? And while we're on the topic of veteran minimums, any other names you think are possible? Well, look, I included this to say people need to chill out. Guys, I know that DeMar DeRozan's 34, but Paul George at 34 just got $200 million to play basketball for Philadelphia. DeMar DeRozan is not the exact same kind of player as Paul George, but he's pretty damn good. He averaged 24 points last season. He shot 48%. He is a very good basketball player, and he is going to command a little bit more than the veteran minimum. People need to chill with thinking that good players who might be a little bit older, but not at ring chasing stage yet, they're just going to be like, oh, the Celtics are good. Let me just take almost no money. Let me take 20 million less than what I was going to make in order to go play with the Celtics and try to win a championship. It's just not realistic. And I know people will say, well, how much more money does he need? Well, let me tell you, at what point in your life are you thinking it's cool to turn down $20 million? I don't care how much money these guys make. $20 million is still $20 million. Like, these guys are still going to make, they're going to go for as much as they can, because DeMar DeRozan only has a few years left to make as much money as he's going to make for the rest of his life, basically. So I'm never going to begrudge a guy for going for the money at that point. And you say, well, doesn't he want to win a championship? Like, yeah, he does want to win a championship, but I don't think he's going to sacrifice that much money. Maybe he sacrifices a little, maybe the mid-level exception versus what he could get on an open market. But that is, I think, the extent of DeRozan or any other star of any note taking less to play for a potential champion, right? Like we just have to chill with that. And I don't know who the other veteran minimums might be. The Celtics have 13 roster spots filled. They have 2 open spots, and they'll probably keep 1 open just in case. But also, why pay somebody to sit at the end of the bench and pay the luxury tax on top of that? They have to sign 1 more veteran minimum guy, and we'll see who that is. I don't know, and it doesn't really matter much. But they'll only sign 1 more. They'll keep the other one open because, and I get this, like Wick Grossbeck and company are spending enough as it is. So why spend $2.5 million on a 15th roster spot plus the taxes on that and all of that? Why spend ultimately $10 million for a guy that's not going to really play? So leave that last spot open, and whoever the veteran minimum guy is, that it doesn't really matter because that person's not going to really play a whole lot. Moses says, how often do all-star level players take a hometown discount? It does not happen often, Moses, because again, players are trying to make money. This is a job. And it's important for us to understand the distinction between players doing a job and us wearing Boston on our chests and cheering for whichever 15 guys or 14 guys are there at the time. Like, we'll sit here and just whoever's in front of us, that's who you cheer for, right? It's Tatum and Brown, and was Kemba Walker, cheering for Kemba Walker. Kemba leaves. That sucks. Who's it going to be now? Oh, it's Derek White. Okay, Marcus Smart. Okay, Marcus leaves. That sucks. Oh, it's Drew Holiday. That's cool. Like they're interchangeable to us, but to them, they're human beings with an extraordinary skill that makes them extraordinary money. But they're trying to set up generations for, Drew Holiday's got kids, and those kids will have kids. And, who knows if the earth will exist past 2 generations at this point, the way things are going, but you got to prepare for the future, so yeah. Does Drew Holiday need more money? Does Derek White, does Jayson Tatum need more money? No, not necessarily, not in the grand scheme of things, but Deuce, can't bank on him making the NBA. He's going to need money. His kids are going to need money. Like you've created generational wealth, and who knows what these guys are going to need. So hometown discounts are rare, and they're rare for a reason. The union doesn't like giving them out. The union encourages guys to take as much as they can, not to set the precedent of taking less. So that's why it's very rare. Kate asks, do you think Keita will get more playing time this year, or will center rotations prioritize Cornette? So it's going to be a situational thing. And because obviously Porzingis is going to be out for the first couple of months of the season, they have an opportunity to go with Luke at the, kind of ball moving, pick and roll, maybe pick and short roll, not quite pick and pop, but the guy who's a little bit more mobile out in the perimeter, handoffs, all of that stuff. So he has that option. Xavier Tillman is a more small ball option who hopefully can add a corner three to his repertoire. And Keita is going to be more of a bruiser. He's a little bit more, as I've said over the course of the season, not lumbering, but a little bit more, like a little less fluid than the other guys. So he's kind of banging inside. He's a big dude. He'll get those opportunities. So yeah, he'll get more playing time this year, but not as much once Porzingis is back and ready to go, which by the time he comes back and gets into full NBA playing shape, that'll still go into January. So Keita will get his fair share for sure. We're going to talk about Team USA. We'll talk about more ownership stuff, and we'll make fun of the Sixers. That's always fun. We'll do that in just a second. Frank asks, hey, John, what's the avenue for the Celtics to be publicly owned again? That's up to the ownership group. And it's just like any other company that gets taken public. There has to be interest in people buying the shares, and they're bound to other kind of financial obligations. They're bound to becoming an entity that is making moves to make them more profitable. And frankly, I don't think we want to see them go public, because making them as expensive as they are would kind of tank the shares. And people will look at that and say, well, they might not be as profitable as they were, because they're spending so much money that they're not taking in as much money. And that means there's less profit for us. When you get a publicly traded company, John Karalis Incorporated gets publicly traded. Well, now the board of directors needs to make John Karalis Incorporated continue to make money somehow. And that's why a lot of these publicly traded companies are always doing things like, even though they're making tons of money, they're always slashing jobs or trying to come up with new products. And you're like, why are you doing this? Everybody loves what you've already done. Just roll with that. But you can't do that, because the people who have invested in you expect a return on that investment. If I put $100 into a company, if you put $100 into John Karalis Inc., you're expecting some level of return on that. And you don't want those shares to be worth $50 and, after you paid $100 for them. So it's fraught with pitfalls that you didn't expect. And I know that we all want to have that certificate that we can hang up on our wall, be like, hey, I'm an owner of the Boston Celtics. Here's the certificate. But I think that would not go as well as you think. Robert says, are you going to be doing a rundown of Team USA soon? They play an exhibition in a few days. I'm fascinated to see how Steve Kerr uses Swiss Army knife Tatum, and any truth to Derek White possibly replacing Kawhi. The White, he was in line to replace Kawhi. Kawhi is going to training camp. So we'll see. If he has to bow out, then I think White could step in. But I don't know what the, if once training camp is going, I don't know if D White's going to be like sitting at home waiting for the call, or if he's going to be like, later I'm going to the Bahamas, or maybe someplace that's not in the crosshairs of a hurricane, but you know what I mean. But I wasn't going to do a full breakdown of Team USA. I'll talk about Team USA when it happens, and we'll see how Jayson Tatum is used. We'll see what the championship has done for him internationally. But we'll, that's going to be more reactive than breaking things down, because I don't think that that's necessarily a pre-Olympics breakdown of Team USA. I don't think that's what people are looking for a whole lot of, for me. But when Tatum plays, I will react to how Tatum plays and all of that stuff. And now let's have some fun. Nathan, this is his message. I'm going to try to read it with the proper sarcasm, and hopefully I get this inflection correct. Nathan, let me know how I do. Oh, how cute that the Sixers think that signing Paul George, Eric Gordon, Andre Drummond will allow them to match the Celtics. I can't wait until they get hurt again, lose in the first round of the playoffs, and hear the media asking, why did the Sixers commit so much money to All-Stars from 7 years ago? Maybe they can get Carmelo to come out of retirement too. Acting available for anybody who might be casting for something. Thank you very much. It is cute. Paul George makes them better simply because he does all the Tobias Harris things that Tobias Harris couldn't do. So you can't double off of Paul George. He's going to make you pay. He can pass. He can make those shots. He can get by people off the dribble. He can defend. So everything that Sixers fans hoped Tobias Harris would be, Paul George will be at a much, much higher price tag. But also, yes, the potential for getting hurt is there. And it's going to be interesting. And they lost Buddy Hield. I thought that they could really use that shooting. So it makes the Sixers better. But does it make them good enough to surpass the Celtics? You know, you heard Tim Bontemps talking on ESPN saying they've got the best big three in the East in Maxey, Paul George, and Joel Embiid, which, you know, look, talent-wise, all right, well, Tatum and Brown and Porzingis or Holiday or, you know, those guys, it's not bad, but Embiid is an MVP candidate. Like legit, he's a former MVP. Paul George has gotten MVP votes. Tyrese Maxey's really good. I can see why you'd say that. But health is going to be an issue. Supporting cast is going to be an issue. And, you know, there's always the who steps up in the playoffs when it's the second round and things start to get a little tight. Who's stepping up? So it gets them closer to Boston. Does it get them past Boston? I don't think so. But we'll see what happens once these things get into practice. Finally, Richard, another sarcastic, somewhat comment where he says, not really a question, but I saw 200,000 fans went to the Florida Panthers parade compared to over 1 million for the Celtics. Florida sports fans are so adorable. I'm sure they arrived halfway through the parade and then left early. Sorry, picking on Florida fans is hard to pass up on. Well, if I had the rights to Kendrick Lamar, this is where I'd play They Not Like Us, but they're not like us. It's different. It's a different, first of all, hockey in Florida versus basketball in Boston or any sport in Boston. It's not fair. It's not a fair comparison. People are just more hardcore fans up in New England. And the Celtics are a legacy team. The Celtics have fans everywhere. You can go to like Idaho and find thousands of Celtics fans. Well, maybe not thousands. There's only like thousands of people in Idaho. But you won't find any Florida Panthers fans. Maybe 1, 2. But you'll find a lot of Celtics fans. You'll go any country in the world, I bet you'll find at least a few Celtics fans there. And in most of those countries, they don't even know what the hell the Florida Panthers are. So congratulations to the Panthers. It's nice to see 200,000 fans out there, and, you know, that's great for them. But yeah, 1 million fans for the Celtics, and that you wonder why they don't do speeches, because how can you pack all those people into a place and do these speeches? It's hard. It's tough, man. I know the Patriots do it sometimes, but I don't know. That's a lot. And asking people to stand around in the hot sun, you're asking for problems. There's that many people standing in one place. It's going to get, testy. It's not great. But No one does a championship parade like Boston. That is a unique experience. I really wish I could have been on one of the duck boats just so I can tell you from a first-person perspective how great it is. You can see the videos from the duck boats and all of that, and that's going to suffice. But you can tell every player that came off of those duck boats was amazed at what they saw. So, yeah, they not like us. Thanks for submitting your questions. Again, the questions can be submitted at johnkaralis.com/mailbag. johnkaralis.com/mailbag. Submit your questions. I will try to get them on in future episodes. Now that it's slowed down a little bit, I will try to get multiple mailbag episodes just to kind of, I do get a lot of questions. So I'm going to try to get to as many of them as I can. So maybe it's definitely Mailbag Mondays, but maybe Mailbag Fridays here and there over the course of the season, the off season, because there are a lot of questions coming in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching the show on YouTube. Get into that comment section. Let me know what you're thinking there. And I would love it if you shared the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast. It's here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.